Good evening, everyone. The ladies of Table Talk are here again. Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
We have a very special guest with us today, Miss Tanya. She has a myriad of jobs, I guess I could say. She's an author, a singer, a dancer, a musical composer, a vice president of Teaching Federation in the city of Hampton, and so much more. She's a spokesperson for the FBI, right?
Well, I'm on the Multicultural Advisory Council, so it's an opportunity and a privilege to represent Native Americans.
So the ladies of Table Talk would like to present to you our wonderful special guest, Miss Tanya.
Thank you for having me.
I know.
Awesome.
So Tanya, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm a Delaware native, born in Delaware, raised in New Jersey. I am a citizen of the Nanticoke-Lenape tribe, and I am married. I have 7 children. Yes, I said 7. 6 boys and 1 girl. We didn't go through any of that. Like, we just spent an hour
slapped us
together.
with some new information.
But she was talking about her daughter and how her daughter got her name.
She said
her daughter.
Yeah, who is surrounded by the boys, the 6
But
boys.
we just spent an hour together, and not once did that come up that I have 6
It
children.
was
7.
7.
6 boys and 1 girl. Is
Yes.
that what we're saying?
Yes.
So the 6 boys that were surrounding your daughter,
They are the thorns
were
in the
your
They're mine.
children.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
So now that's everything I do, right?
All right. Now that we got that out in the open, all right.
Here we go. Speaking in those.
Stay cold. Stay cold.
Oh.
You gotta pay attention, girl. You gotta pay attention. All right. So.
There is
No,
no
we
code for 7 kids. There isn't. I have 7 kids.
You keep moving over.
Because Tanya just messed me up with those 7 kids.
I think we all
My face
look
was
back like
You did. I like your look.
I caught it.
Okay, Tanya. So 7 kids down the line and 27 jobs on your back.
hell of a woman right there.
I'm a busy woman.
I'm gonna be like you when I grow up, you know.
Trust me. It's not easy. You know, I do have a lot of support, and you know, I have amazing children. I mean, it helps to have well-behaved children.
It does.
You know, they range from 21 down to 5. So,
You have a 5-year-old?
yes.
Go
She's the girl.
Yeah.
I have 2 adults. I have an 18-year-old too.
So do I.
Yeah.
I have a 19-year-old.
So,
You have a 20 and a 22.
and then I have a 15, 13, 11, and 6.
Yeah, I don't have all that. Absolutely not.
I
But
have 4. But
congratulations.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Woo.
so
You done?
this successful
Oh,
mom.
I'm done. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
Successful mom, successful lady, successful Native American, speaking out for her tribe. So I understand you wrote a couple of books and you made a CD with spoken word.
Yes.
Listening to your reflections of the soul is deep.
It is deep.
Is deep.
It is deep.
And I need to listen to it. You know how you look at a movie 7 different times and you get something
Yeah,
different
every
each
time.
time?
Yes.
I need to listen to this a bunch of different times because I feel like I will receive something different
And read it
each
as
time.
you listen to it, because the words just pop off the page when you listen as you're reading. Because it seems like instead of reading it 20 times, it just seems to mesh. And you get it when you see the words visually and you're listening to the way I'm saying it, you know, because there's a lot of passion in the way I say
Yes.
it.
Your-
That's what the CD's purpose was for.
Your voice is actually soothing. I can use it to put me to sleep. Not
But I
that you're
don't know
boring.
if that's
Right.
good.
No, I'm saying it's not that she's boring.
Oh,
Her
it's
voice
nice.
is just very soothing. It's something I would use to meditate, maybe.
That's the purpose of the CD.
Right. It's very soothing. And tell us more about your book.
Well, awesome.
Books.
Books.
Author.
Well, Journey to Legacy is about my life. It's a poetic timeline of my life, and this was created. It's like a clarion call for readers to not compromise their morals, to be who they are. And so my first chapter opens up with some very touching, very in-depth poetry, about 30 poems written from 6th grade to 12th grade. I never stopped writing. I kept all my writings. Then I go into my adulthood. I wrote poetry that blessed education, experiences from education. And then I wrote the 4th chapter, Leaving a Legacy, which was about the Native American culture. And it takes you through a phase where if you've never been to a powwow, there's vocabulary words, there's information to help you understand the culture. And my travel history is in there. And so from Journey to Legacy, there was a little more information I wanted to say. And I ended up doing the spoken word, which created the CD, Reflections from the Soul. And these 8 tracks composed the book. And this is definitely a merge of culture and Christianity, because I wanted to answer that question that I struggled with as a child, that people asked me, well, how can you be Indian and serve God too? Don't y'all serve spirits and gods? And I was like, oh, no, that's not true. As I got older, those questions still came. As I presented to schools, to adults, to children, those questions still came. And I said, okay, I need to be a myth buster. And so I really put that out to silence some of the ignorance so that more people know. You know, because our family left legacies of information, and it's time for people to know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is, and I am guilty of being ignorant to
But that's okay.
the Native American culture, just like I was asking earlier, you know, what should we know, or what myths should we put to the side, or what are important facts that, you know, if I was to come to a powwow and I could speak educatedly with another Native American and not sound like, okay, really? Now you just,
What are you here for?
yeah, like
It's more common than you think. When you're at a powwow, there's a master of ceremonies or mistress of ceremonies, and they're there to educate people in the powwow as well. They'll announce certain dances and talk about what it is, and you get to see it. When you're with people at the powwow, you get to see so many colors in their different regalia, which is their ceremonial dress. You'll see the different types of dances. You'll hear the songs, and the songs are sung or chanted and drummed very differently per dance, per song. And so when you're with people, when you're at the powwow, please go up and ask them, you know, questions that you don't know. Because we want to educate the communities. We want people to know. One of the questions I also get is, do y'all still live in teepees?
I was just about to ask that. I just wanted to know, do we do powwows in teepees? I wanted to know.
We're on a humongous fairground in Salem County, New Jersey, so it's in the open, and but there is like a huge teepee in the back of the fairgrounds. But as far as living with my family, you know, the none of us do not live in a teepee. You know, we live in a regular home.
That'll
but
be a hell of a
children,
teepee.
when they look at the books and they read their history books, they imagine everybody looking the same, the Pocahontas look, and you know, they think I should look a certain way, but I'm kind of hidden in plain sight. You know, if it wasn't for the fact that I wear certain pieces every day, sometimes I wear it in jewelry, sometimes in dress, I'll wear pieces of regalia, sometimes I wear my hair ties. If it wasn't for that, then nobody would ever know.
Explain regalia.
Regalia is ceremonial dress. So, I mean, people in Europe can wear regalia because it's based on ceremonial dress. For Native Americans, it is our clothing that we wear at our powwows. It's what we adorn ourselves with. It's a adornment of honor. And every type of regalia that is made based on the dance. You'll have your fancy dance. You'll have grass dancers. You'll have traditional. You'll have jingle dancers for girls. Whatever you're wearing, you are making it. You are praying over every stitch. You are, you know, taking the time. And as you read, it does not happen overnight. When you create regalia, so much time, effort, blood, and tears go into it. It's not like making a normal dress on the sewing machine. You know, it takes thought, it takes creativity. The beadwork is intricate. Everything is beaded. And your character, your name, your personality, all of that should go into your regalia. So it says who you are. When you enter that circle, your regalia should also state who you are.
And you also have said that you have an event coming up May
Yes.
5th. May 5th?
Yes. May 5th, there's one hosted by, and I'm going to get this all wrong, but I know it's in Chesapeake at the Community Convention Center.
The conference.
Conference Center.
Mm-hmm.
And that is hosted by the FBI Citizens Academy and Community, and I believe the Chesapeake Police Department. And that is a discussion about culture and faith. And police, you know, how they respond. You know, for instance, you know, if someone's, let's say, dressed a certain way in the car, native style, and they're on their way to a powwow. Okay, it takes a lot to get on. Let's just say the police pull them over and say that's a distraction, and say you need to take that off. Maybe it might not be so easy, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, they have their knives with them, or, you know, tomahawks. Some of them are for demonstration. You know, some of them are part of the dance. They need to know those things. They need to know what is being carried. You know, when they open up a cedar box and see a bunch of leaves in there, no, it's not something illegal. It's sage, you know. It may be cedar or
Yes.
you know, grass, and so they need to know these things. So the police need to be aware of culture, from culture to culture. And so I'm happy to be able to share different things from the
And
Native
what
American
time is that
perspective.
going on?
I believe it's 6 to 8.
Yes.
6 to 8.
May 5th, Chesapeake Conference Center, 6 to 8.
Yeah.
Be there or be square.
So, with the regalia, with the Christianity and the Native American culture, how did you get on this path? What led you to not only Christianity, but also to want to get it out to the masses, the information?
Wow. Since I was a child, there was so much confusion with growing up. The way I looked. I had long hair. I had curly long hair. They would look at my mom. People assumed my mom was white or Spanish. They didn't know who my mom was. When I would say my mom was Indian or Native American, they were like, no, you're a liar. Indians aren't alive. You know, I used to get all those type of comments. Believe it or not, I'm serious. And so it kind of like there was a struggle. So what ended up happening was the influence became a struggle with my own identity. And so I was like, well, am I black or am I Native American? And it wasn't until, you know, obviously my grandmother and my mother instilling so many amazing values in me, and my cousins and family members, you know, attending powwows was very cultural, but very strong for me to grasp and say, you know, this is who I am. But I would get in the circle during like open circle, but when it was like certain dances I wasn't in, I would be on the outside, and I would say, I want to be on the inside. You know, I hadn't gone through the process. I hadn't gone through the rites of passage, and I hadn't done the things that I witnessed some of my loved ones do. And so I said to my mother, I said,
So it's something you had to earn.
and do. There's a process, you know. I have a card that says that I am a citizen of my tribe. Well, there's a process to obtain that card, and the naming ceremony and all those things that have to take place had not actually been done yet. And I kept saying, well, Mom, you know, why? Why hasn't this happened yet? And she really couldn't answer. So I wasn't sure if it was her past religion, which wasn't Christianity. So I thought maybe that's what it was. And I started to like, you know, take it in on my own and say, okay, I need this for myself.
Right.
I'm having children. At this point, I became a young adult, having children with my husband. And I said, I need to know more about my lineage and let my children know. And so we ended up getting the paperwork done, my mother and everything. And so once that took place, as I was in the school system, people just kept saying, you know, we want to know more, know more. And when I heard those questions and the things that kept being repeated, I said, okay, there's a lot more ignorance about it than I thought. Even in Virginia, full of history of
Full of
Native
Native
Americans,
American history.
I thought, wow. So it kind of like urged me to create the books and urged me to speak out and be a mythbuster.
So are there any myths in the history books in the school system? Like, have you ever opened up a book and, you know, they're talking of Native Americans and you're like, That's not true.
There's some, like Columbus Day.
I think we're all fed up with Columbus.
know.
And then there's that question, do all Native Americans celebrate Thanksgiving? Isn't that your holiday?
Oh God! Why would that be your holiday? It was the Pilgrims' holiday, supposedly.
And to be honest, Native
They were
Americans
happy to
weren't really
feed.
invited. You gotta know the facts.
Who wasn't invited?
Native Americans.
Right, because they was the ones that helped them build the
Exactly.
food, make the food, gather the food,
And then
But
they kicked them to the curb.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm glad y'all know y'all history because
Hey,
the
I know
children don't
something.
learn that. The children learned that they were in peace with the Pilgrims and
And
that
we're
they
singing
was happy-go-lucky.
Kumbaya.
Yeah.
They was sitting around that fire, holding hands and
Right.
rocking.
Yeah.
But I let them know about that, and I actually, had to apologize to one student because I told him the truth about Columbus Day, and he got a little startled about it. And I said, "Well, this is the
Was
truth."
he Caucasian, black, the student?
Actually Hispanic. That
Hispanic.
student was
Oh, okay.
Hispanic.
Because
Well, when children learn things, they kind of hold dear to
Yeah.
that knowledge.
But,
It's hard to.
and then depending on the child, they'll go home and tell their parents, and then you have a parent in uproar. What you teach about kid such and such, and it's not in the books, and you just like, hold up.
So you're gonna laugh.
You see this card right here. You see what you see this card right here? What does that say? Was I not only there, but so is my relatives.
my bloodline?
That's
traveled
right.
this.
That's right. Let me see your card.
I don't have it.
Oh, okay.
Mine's over there.
I just watched this afternoon with my sons, a snippet of old Good Times. And in it, Michael came home early and they said, "Why are you home?" And he said, "Because I got suspended." And he said, "Why you get suspended?" "Because I'm black." "Tell the truth, boy. Why'd you get suspended?" "Well, the teacher told me something and I told her the truth." "Well, what'd you tell her?" "I told her that George Washington was a racist and he owned slaves." And Florida says, "You can't disrespect George Washington like that." And he's like, "I'm
But
not
it's just-
disrespecting him.
right.
It was the truth. He owned slaves. He was a racist." And that goes back to what you were saying about the parents, because the parents don't always know. Parents are not clear on the history because they know what they were taught.
Right.
And when you're taught something as a child, your mind is like a sponge.
mindset.
You collect it and you hold it, and that is what makes you strong to yourself or whatever. And to teach you differently is like breaking through bulletproof glass. It hurts. It's painful to learn that what I learned as a child is not true.
Right. Right.
And then it's also how your child is conveying that information. This teacher was 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, and she told me there's no Santa Claus. What? You ready to go up to the school? You ready to go up to the school?
Why did you tell me?
Right.
I said there's a Santa Claus, so there's a Santa
Right.
Claus. As far as teaching the history, I applaud you. I applaud you because that has to be scary. And I'm not saying scary because it's your information, but it's scary because you have to go in front of so many people that have been taught, trained, instructed, and read their history in a way, and you have to dispel so much of that.
But it is kind of fun too. Like one of the classes I actually sat in up through this year was a history class. And so I would come in every day and just sit and listen. And when we got to that part, the teacher would love to like, "Ms. Liverman, do you have any input?" So we would kind of, collab a little. And I love that because, there were a lot of truths, but then I had to expound and say, okay, there's a fine line here. Let's talk about this, So just awesome to be able to let children's faces light up to see and to see and hear it from a real, as they say, you're a real Indian,
I know.
And then when I would share pictures of my family, it really became real because now they're seeing the visuals and it just
I think
makes
it's kind of
sense.
like a loss, like a dying breed, because I asked the same thing, and I'm an adult, I'm like, yo, it's like, you're real, like, okay, because it's not something. Like she said, if she's not wearing something to let you know,
Right.
and if you don't know what she's
And
wearing,
this is subtle. This is not even.
then
It's
you
very
wouldn't know
subtle.
that she is a Native American. So how many people do we come across in our lifetime
Right.
You know, we travel a lot, go to different states, what
And when
have
we hear
you.
Indian, we thinking people from India.
No, not
No,
me.
no.
No, not
Some
me.
do.
Not me.
No,
Some
they
people
are. A lot of
Some do.
people are thinking
And that was
the
why the
people
name
from
was changed
India.
to Native American. You know, like that's why the name went back and forth.
I know
And because
that
a lot
some
of
people,
people-
some people do say that. I'm like, no, fool. They do not have a red dot on their forehead. Can we please?
But that's
Some of them do.
yeah, they do.
Some
So-
of them do, actually, really.
You're-
But then you get those people that have that, Native Americans get stereotypes. Like they're supposed to look a certain way.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
to me, Native Americans don't look like the Indians from India.
No, not
No.
the Indians from India, but
The
the Indians,
Pocahontas.
yeah, the Pocahontas.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, so for me, I would
But the
say,
Indians from India do sometimes look like Pocahontas.
not to me.
Really, that
Sometimes.
skin
I haven't
color,
seen any.
that hair.
I mean, I'm not saying that they don't exist.
Right.
I'm not saying that.
So
they don't exist.
it's not even about the looks. It's about
Listen,
the
I'll let
blood.
you tell me what you are. I'll be like, so you're
I'm Indian.
Okay, all right. Now that we got that out the way. Now that we got that out the
Okay,
way.
so I have this, I don't know, this question. So the babies, is there like a dedication ceremony that the babies go through
Like a
in the
baptism?
Native American
Well, with
culture?
me, all my children were baptized in the church.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be able to answer that directly because I chose to have everything done in the church. My marriage, you know, the children were baptized. But there are, like I said, naming ceremonies. And it's up to you. I mean, you usually want to wait, you know, until your child is at least, you know, running around a little bit and trying to get that personality going and get to see, you know, what you would define as the name. Because that name will last you your lifetime. So you don't really want to name an infant that name because you don't know that.
Loudly
infant.
speaker,
You haven't
and they like,
developed, you know. But you know, I mean, you can grasp a Native American name as far as like the equivalent of your first name. But as far as like your native name that you get for a naming ceremony, you should wait a little bit to get to know, you know, the character
About
because that's what it's
5
based
or
on.
7.
And what is
25
the-
and 7.
Even 2, you know, you can get to
You
know
can
a
keep your
2-year-old.
personality. They,
You know,
they
but
do
you
like-
know, it's up to the
Yeah,
parent.
some kids speak out.
what is the percentage? Because we all know we got Shaniqua, Boquisha,
That's an Indian.
my daddy Indian. You can't even
I
say
got
it
good
right.
hair.
That baby hair. What is
Get that toothbrush
What?
up in the gel off your baby hair.
what is the percentage?
That you can claim
Yes.
legally.
Yes.
You get your card.
Yes.
1/8.
1/8. Y'all know what that is?
And actually, it may go 1/16. It may.
That's
That's even more.
It may go 1/16.
You might be
that's
in
not
there.
a lot.
You might be in there.
That's not
You
a lot.
might be in there.
Well, listen,
Shawana's in there.
listen. Miss Tanya
And I
has,
want to say it can be dependent upon your tribe.
listen. I don't even look. I was told, but I'm not. Look, I believe you. Okay.
But it is through the mother's bloodline, so it can't be through your daddy. It has to be through your mother. The Native American blood is claimed from mother to mother to mother.
Oh, no,
so as
then
I
I'm
was
not.
saying, my mom is full, her mom was full, her mom was full. So there was a very thick bloodline,
Yes.
you know, going backwards. And it was easy to trace our bloodline
But,
and enter
I'm straight.
relational marriages. And yeah.
Thank you, but I don't.
Clearing that
I
up.
wish.
You know, we was about to
I
go
still
down
got good
to,
hair though.
You do.
you know, I see them ways, man.
You get a little sick over here.
we was about to go get registered. That's what we was on our way to do after we got here.
Get ready to fill out a lot of paperwork because one of the things I do, you know, try to tell people is please research your ancestry, find out who you are because it's a process. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
if you look at me, you would say that I'm what? You wouldn't say Native American first.
No.
I mostly get Spanish.
Yes.
So
that's
when
why
people,
I would,
you know, they're like, you know, down here,
And the big
I don't
pretty
sound like
eyes,
a Virginian. So they think I'm Puerto Rican. And I'll say, no, I'm from New Jersey. You probably hear my
Because you
Jersey
speak
accent.
with all of the vowels and all of the letters in your sentences. That's why. There's not too many people in this area that speak like that.
I'm a northerner, okay? But yeah, so sometimes they'll say that. And I think because I am a Spanish teacher too, I teach Spanish after school right now.
You're like, wait a minute. You got an Indian
I
Teaching
know.
Spanish?
Yeah. I stay after school and I'm instructing, and I used to teach it before, but I think because I know the language fluently as well, it tends to come out a little bit. So
Them R's just roll.
Roll off your tongue. Okay.
So,
okay.
seeing as you're a songstress, can we
I'm
hear
not
a
a
little?
songstress. I just said I sing on the worship.
You just sing on the worship team. So,
I blend nicely.
so you're not
She
gonna
said she
bust out
blends
with
nicely.
Don't you caught that, didn't you?
Yes.
So there'll be no busting out in tunes.
No, there won't be no busting out. Beyonce is not in the house.
No.
She came to talking about her culture. You talking about singing.
Well, I wanted to hear, if you know.
I tell my clients that all the time. I'm so glad that you do what you do, so I don't have to get up there and aspire. Because I represent recording artists. Amazing. Shout out to the Native Productions clients.
All right.
Yeah, for their prices on the move right now.
All right.
But yeah, I don't sing. I
Okay.
write music
Yeah.
and I can produce music, but I don't.
Well, it
Right,
seems
to
like
sing.
you're a jack of all trades, and I see you're still holding a book. So.
Oh, yes. This is the one. It just got re-released, Memoirs of an Educator. Educator, I did say that. Because it's one thing to be an educator. Educators, they teach. They teach what they know, But an educator, they go beyond what they know. And they
Yes.
learn the student. And they teach based on what they've learned from the student.
Yes.
So they teach from the heart because they care. And so this book, I've had a lot of
Yeah.
conflict a little bit because I say things that people need to know, such as when the teacher is the trigger, and yes, this does happen, then I say it just like that in the book. Then the student will display an apt behavior because they don't
Yes.
want to learn from a teacher that they have a poor rapport with.
Yes.
And so I
I've
talk
seen
about
it.
how to gain that rapport. Nowadays, children, they want respect first.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have to be that way because we were not taught that.
Right.
But you got to change the way you do things. So I have no problem. I work with middle school kids. I will gain that respect. I will respect them first. I'll be cool with them and all that, but they're going to see I'm a mama too. I give them a mama look and you better check yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they understand their limit and boundary. And then in the midst of that, I gain a great rapport with my kids where I can talk to them. I joke about, I'm going to yoke you up, we joke
Yeah.
about that, but they know they can self-check based on the rapport we've gained.
Yes.
And so to me, if you're student-centered in the classroom, everything you've learned about your students, then not only are you the pressures of teaching to test with SOLs and standards of learning, but you can still be creative a little bit with the way you respond to your students. And so it doesn't always have to be a battle, a conflict.
And boring.
And yes, when your students don't like you, it does matter. I have to say
It
that
does.
because I've watched poor relationships mean that students don't want to learn, so the test scores are poor.
Sometimes teachers don't really take that into well, I'm not gonna say really don't. They don't take that into consideration. I guess maybe they feel they've been doing it for so long that this is the information that I have to convey, and either you're gonna accept it and move on because I already have mine.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, and then, there's a section on administrators. Like, it actually addresses teachers, students, parents, administrators, and support staff. So it addresses every role in education. And I speak to each role on how to support the student, even correcting the student in some parts and passages of the book. But with the administrators, I have friends who are administrators, and I've watched them be teachers and then become administrators. And their goals of what they want to accomplish because they were a teacher fade because they realize that they can't do that anymore as an administrator.
Yeah.
And so there's in the section of the book, an inspiration for education, that whole section is poetry. And it addresses these issues in the most heartfelt way without pointing fingers, but addressing the issues. And so the light in a lonely role speaks to administrators. And I love that poem. And then there was another poem that was actually put into the Virginia Journal of Education, the VEA Association, when I was a member with them. They published one, Don't Stop Believing, and it was based on my poem, Why You Were Sent. And that was to reignite teachers that lost their passion to teach.
Because they
Remember
do,
why they
I
were
can
sent.
tell, I see it when I walk into the school.
Burnout. Yeah, burnout.
They over here, and that staunch stature about
There's
some
a lot
of
going
them.
on. Behaviors mostly. There's a lot going
Oh,
on.
I
And it can burn
agree.
teachers out. I don't condone either side of behaviors that manifest from teachers or students, but there's a burnout going on. Yeah.
Why is there such a, when I was growing up, there was really no such thing as being diagnosed with ADD, ADHD, AD, all those. It was, you did have a special ed class, but in that special ed class, they were Down syndrome special ed, or they
Self-contained classes.
but you could see that there was a problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a normal looking kid in that special ed class.
Or normal acting kid that
Right.
just may have a behavior problem.
Right. So now, why are we so quick to label and then to clump them together and expect everything?
Well,
to
they're not clumped together anymore. They're in regular
mainstream. They're in
classrooms.
inclusion. They call it mainstreaming. They're inclusion setting classes. Your real, as you're saying, real special needs classes, self-contained, they still exist. But learning disabilities, OHI, other health impaired with ADD and ADHD are mainstreamed into the classes. They're provided with special education support, which is one of the things I do. And so it allows them to have accommodations that they need, maybe extended testing, maybe they need to take breaks during testing, maybe they need to read aloud so that they can comprehend better. Maybe they're visually impaired or hearing impaired. They're all in the same classes, yes, with what you would call regular ed students. And so it is difficult on teachers because they used to have classes just for them, and now everybody's put together. So
And with all of this information, you put out a lot of information, but you have a lot left, and we don't have a lot of time. So these are Tanya's 3 books and her CD. Get them, support her. She is just amazing and awesome, and
where can they be purchased at?
they can be purchased.
you can go on my website, nativeproductionsva.com, and you can see all the books. You can also Google or search it through Amazon. All the books are available on Amazon. And please go to the website because my next book, In the Mirror, A Woman's Saga, that's coming out with a CD as well. And so that book speaks to every woman,
All right.
and every man needs to read the book.
Oh,
And the man?
Every man needs to read the book.
purchase that one,
Wait,
not
Steve
for
Harvey
me,
look
but
out.
for him.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey.
It
Harvey ain't
reveals.
got nothing on you.
I'll just tell you one of the titles. It starts with the force. You know, it talks about women who are itty bitty negative people. So it starts with that. Then it goes into your foundation. Then it goes into your compact, In the Mirror. And these are titles that you would think are just,
Right.
but they all mean something.
And when is that book coming out?
It's coming out by the end of this year. The music is already done, tracks are already done. The book is in this last writing stage, ready to go to the editor. So that book is being released, and it's already on demand because people have heard it. I've gone to some spoken word places and released, and so they're waiting for this book to come
All
out.
right.
And then this Saturday, you're going to be at the powwow.
Yes, this Saturday, Mount Trashmore in Virginia Beach. And then my next powwow will be back home in New Jersey at our powwow in June.
Is that rain or shine?
Yes, it
Rain or
is. You get out there, rain or shine. That's right. That was one reason why I changed from buckskin. Because sometimes you can't get out there in the rain. You got to stand under the tarp, pretend, or, And I said, I want to dance no matter what. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I don't have
So-
a yet, so that's fine.
this Saturday, right?
Yes.
This Saturday at Mount Trashmore. Come out for the big powwow. It's not just her,
many
Tanya's
tribes.
tribe. It's many tribes that will be out there. And then in June 13th through the 15th,
12th, yes, 13th and 14th. Yes.
right, they'll be having their Nanatoke Lanani Lapai.
Nanticoke, Lenai Lenape.
Okay. I tried. I messed that all up. I said I was gonna butcher it. I tried.
Our
not
annual
to.
powwow.
All right. It was their annual powwow, which you all call a family reunion.
A get
You all
together.
come on out and support, enjoy,
And get educated.
get
Yes.
educated, and just learn some things and have a great time. Tanya, we would like to thank you so much
so
for
much.
gracing us with your presence, educating us so much, but also we would like to welcome you to come back.
Oh, anytime.
Yes.
Anytime.
we need more time with her. So, fans of Table Talk, friends and family, we love you. We thank you for tuning in, and we thank you for your support. Have a great day. Anybody else have anything? No? That was it?
That was it.
Tanya?
You summed it up
Thank
pretty
you.
well.
Bye-bye.